North and the podcast.
Coach Junior.
Chip, first of all, welcome to Columbus.
Thank you.
How has the move been for you? But as far as the decision that you made in the last couple months, like what went into that thought? I mean, not a lot of guys make the step you made.
Yeah. Sometimes I do a lot of things other people don't do, so I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I think it started when we were preparing for our bowl game. Ryan Gunderson, who's a great quarterback coach, left to go to Oregon State as the coordinator, so he wasn't there. So I actually coached the quarterbacks during the bowl game, and I just started to think, like, I hadn't actually coached a position since 2008. And then I think my wife remarked, she's like, I haven't seen you this happy in a long time. And to me, the best part of football is football. And so you got to do football and not do some of the things that involve with the head coaching deal. And I had a chance after we beat Boise in the bowl game, and as we started recruiting, just to kind of think about what that experience was like. And then I get to make the decision on what my future is going to be. And so what do I want to do? So I started to look into, is there an opportunity? And it would have been the right spot to go somewhere and just coach a position again and be back with that group. Because I think as a head coach, you sit in on position meetings, but then you're always getting pulled out. And there's other things that are involved with being a head coach. And I think it's more of a CEO operation right now. You know, it's the job and the landscape, as we all know, of college football has changed. So I just thought at the time that, you know, there's a story about John Lennon when he was a little kid that had an assignment of what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, I want to be happy. And then his teacher said, I don't think you understand the assignment. And his mom said, I don't think you understand life. So I just want to be happy. And I'm really happy coaching a position, really happy to be at this place. You know, it would have taken a special place for me to leave UCLA because I love those players and I love that coaching staff. But to be here with Ryan, I had a great relationship. I've known Ryan since he was a little kid. So I think a lot of things just fell into place that way.
Coach, third row left, Andy Andrews, 11 Warriors.
Just diving into spring ball here, where do you see, obviously, you know, you have a big running game background. Where do you see this offensive line at, and how can you kind of simplify things to maybe help bolster their play entering this season?
I was impressed just since I've been here in the last couple of weeks with their athleticism, their attention to detail, and their development as players. But to stay on day one that I think that our scheme is going to be this, or this, it's, you know, that's going to be a work in progress as we start to get familiar with what the players' skill sets are and then what we can do. And it's always a combination of what you have up front and then what you have out back. And I know we've got a couple really talented running backs behind them. So, you know, it's something that we're going to look at. But I also know you can't be one-dimensional in football. You need to be able to throw the ball as much as run the ball. You know, it's funny. Some people think I'm an air raid guy. Some people think I'm a wing T guy. Some people think I want to run the ball every down. You know, we're gonna do what's best for Ohio State, and that's kind of what our game plan is right now.
Front row right, Austin Ward, podcast.
Chip, when you think about your first evaluations of the quarterbacks and going through these 15 practices, how do you want to structure that? I know that you and Ryan have probably talked about that a good amount. Like, what's the right way to set up a spring position battle? Mm-hmm. How many reps does everybody need? What's sort of your plan, just from a general perspective, I guess?
Yeah, you know, we're really detailed in what practice looks like. And how that's going to operate. But I also think you need to let the players go, you know, so I don't think you need to put shackles on them, so to speak, and just keep them constrained. I think you got to let them go and you got to let them operate. And we were rotating, I think, everybody on every 2 snaps today, and that was just what we're going to do on day one. You know, we'll reassess it after we got through it, get a chance to count up all the reps of how many plays each guy got, and did they get more in 7 on than they did in 11 on, you know, and we'll go through that whole thing, and that'll be a constant flow in terms of how we're doing it. But I think the best way people learn is they learn by doing, you know, so they've been great in the meeting rooms. They're sharp when you get them on the board. They're really good when they're watching film, but you got to go out and you got to play the game. And so the more that we can put them in those situations to play the game, the better we'll have an opportunity to evaluate them.
Third row right, Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Chip, I'm just thinking all of these things go back so far with Ryan Day. You mentioned since you've known him since he was a kid. What were your first impressions back then, and then as you come full circle to now, like how do you feel about that?
It's still the same way. He, you know, even since he was playing Little League, he was the ultimate competitor. You know, and he was always trying to find a way to win. He was great at a lot of sports: baseball, basketball, football. You know, I got an opportunity to recruit him. You know, so I coached him when I was at New Hampshire. I recruited him out of high school. We grew up really close to each other. So same elementary school, same high school. same junior high, same college, so I've known him for a really long time. But that competitive fire burns deep with him, and that's the one thing that I've always admired with him. And he's got an amazing athletic brain in terms of how to process things and how to put people in position to make plays. He's always been that prototypical coach on the field, no matter what sport he was playing. So I knew he was destined to be a coach, and I was fortunate in my career as a head coach to have him on my staff at a couple places. So I got a chance to see him work firsthand. I got to see him work firsthand as a player and then as a coach. So the success he had is not surprising to me.
What kind of pride is there for you seeing Ryan and the success he's had?
Yeah, I think we all do that. I think we come from a unique place in a really small hometown in New Hampshire where we all take a lot of pride of where we're from, and when anybody's successful coming out of there, then you kind of take a little pride that it's the upbringing that we all had, in the youth sports program that we grew up in every aspect, whether it was football, baseball, basketball. Those coaches had an amazing impact on us, and that's why we are where we are right now.
Front row, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Chip.
Hi, Bill.
Ryan said he doesn't think of it as you working under him, it's working with him.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, he's the head coach, you were the offensive coordinator.
He makes me call him sir, though. I didn't. He just said, "Can you do that day one?" And I was like, "All right, Ryan." No.
No, but, I mean, he ultimately is the decision maker. You've
Yeah.
been a head coach. How do you think that's going to work? Do you think there'll be any, as close as you are, any kind of, I don't know if awkward moments is the right term, but when he's the ultimate decider and you are working for him?
Yeah, I certainly understand my role. I'm not Al Haig. Like I'm not in charge here. Yeah. Some people get that reference. Other people don't get that reference. But I certainly understand it, and I actually kind of relish it because I really love the scheming part. I love the individual part. I love being in the meeting room with the quarterbacks and trying to game plan. But everything we do here is collaborative. The one thing that really struck me when I walked in this place is there's an amazing coaching staff here. And if you get a chance to talk to Larry Johnson just about football, or Tim Walton, or Jim Knowles, or Brian Hartline, or any of these guys that are on the staff here, it's a very collaborative effort. I think everybody's on the same page. It's not our offense and their defense and all those other ways. It's Ohio State, and it's Ohio State versus the 12 opponents that we're going to play during the regular season and then beyond. So it's really collaborative, and that's the thing I like just in the short time that I've been here is how collaborative everybody's been. We're all trying to make each other better, and we're all trying to develop this team.
Touched on this when you said, you like to do what you want to do, and not. My sense is you, in your perfect world, you'd like to scribble plays on a napkin and not deal with boosters, not deal with all the stuff that head coaches, have to deal with now. How much of a factor was that in this decision? You can just do football.
No, that's not it. I mean, I enjoy. I mean, we've had some amazing. I've had an opportunity everywhere I've been to meet some amazing people that are associated with the program, and there's people that from my time at New Hampshire or my time at Oregon. I was just with Phil Knight 2 weeks ago, and got an opportunity to spend some time with him and his wife Penny, who are dear friends of mine that have been great mentors to me in my career. And there's a bunch of people at UCLA, Terry Donahue and Andrea Donahue were awesome to me. Angelo Mazzoni is a great friend. Casey Wasserman, Troy Aikman. There was a bunch of people at UCLA that I really enjoyed, being around and talking with. So I think sometimes everybody wants to make a narrative of it's either this or that. It's never that. It's never just all ball. It's never just all recruiting. It's never just all boosters. It's a mixture of everything. But I think the one thing that, as this position as a head coach kept moving on, is that if you look at a lot of them, they all become more CEOs. I can't tell you how many coaches that have called me since I made this decision that said, "I'm 2 years behind you, brother." That are thinking the same exact way. And I think it's all part of what we have to do. I think we all need to protect this game and promote this game. And I think there are some rules that we need to get straightened out so that people understand what it's about, because the game is still about the players, and I hope that never gets discounted. It's always been about the players, and I think if we can keep that at the forefront, the people that are making decisions on this, and I think Gene Smith is one of the best influences in the NCAA, is to make sure we keep that the main thing. The main thing needs to be the student athletes.
Right behind him, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
You're coming in at a time where you've been through some places where the expectations are high, I understand, but you're also coming into a juncture where, the 3 losses to Michigan, the not making the playoff last year, the urgency is pretty high here. I guess just sort of what perspective do you have on kind of the stakes that there are for Ryan this year and the decision that then he makes to bring you in to kind of help solve that?
Yeah, I think the expectations can be no higher than they are in your own brain. And I think if you try to worry about what other people are thinking in their brains, you're going to get screwed up a little bit. So, I talked earlier, the one thing about Ryan that I know about him and has always been he's the ultimate competitor. So there's nowhere that has higher expectations of Ohio State than Ryan does, nor the rest of us that joined him and are part of this and that are working with him. So, I think sometimes you can spend too much time thinking about those things. What you really have to do is just there's a big sign as you walk into this place that says win the moment. I think that's a real thing that we have to do as coaches is to make sure that our players aren't worried about what's going on in the future or aren't worried about what's going on in the past or worried about can they get a little bit better today. And can we make improvement? And I think the one thing that I've seen here, and I've only been here for 3 weeks, but there's a consistency to the players' approach when they walk in this building every day, which is, it's unique. It's not like that everywhere else. And it's one of the things that I remarked to Mick when he said, hey, what do you think? And I was like, it's impressive. It's impressive, the culture of the players that are in this program right now. But I think it speaks a lot to the leadership. There's a lot of older players on this team. And they've set the tone for the younger players. And I think the younger players have done a great job of fellowship and getting right in line with that.
Handed over play calling to someone before.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to you? I guess he technically did it to Bill when he was here for a couple of weeks, but what does that mean to you to kind of be getting that responsibility from him? And he's calling essentially the offense that you gave him, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah, I still think the play calling part will be a collaborative effort. And by that, I mean that if it's a good play, I called it. And if it's a bad play, he called it. Because the great part as an assistant coach is you can point the finger a little bit and just say, hey, I wanted to do this, but he trumped me. So we haven't actually discussed game day yet. We'll see how that operates. But everywhere I've been, it's been a collaborative effort. And all of a sudden, someone that's calling the plays isn't like pulls one out of left field that you hadn't practiced and hadn't been part of your offense and said, hey, let's do this. We're not running the annexation of Puerto Rico. We're not coming up with something special in the middle of the fourth quarter that we haven't done. But I think it's the key to really being successful on offense is how you game plan, how you put it all together, and then how you practice and train for that so that you get a chance to execute it. Because the player's confidence comes from their demonstrated ability that they've done this so many times in practice that when they get out on the field, that this is like that to them. It's not that they do it till they do it right. It's that they practice it so much so that they can't do it wrong. So, I think it's that whole part of it that is really the key to being a really good game planning team.
Second row right, Doug Maurice, Kings of the North.
Chip, when you had that feeling when you were coaching the quarterbacks during bowl preparation, did you consider at that point maybe resigning as the head coach and thinking like this is not where I am anymore, I'll leave and then I'll look to see what else is out there?
No, I never thought about quitting anything. So, is there an opportunity that I think I can, that fit? And I think that's it's no different than when you're talking to a recruit about them making a decision on where they're going to go to school. I think that where they should go to school is where the best fit is for them. So, I just entertained some opportunities and I felt like this was the best fit, but I never thought about quitting or not coaching. I'm going to coach. I'm going to coach and then I'm going to die. I mean, that's how I think about things is I can't picture that. I know I was on the Nike trip and they like, how much longer are you going to go? And I said, I have to go another 15, 20 years. And I don't think about retirement. I don't think about any of those things. That's just not kind of my mindset that, I love football and as long as I can be part of this game, then I'll be part of this game.
And you had just the way things worked out with your departure from UCLA, is there anything that you wish you had done differently or anything you regret or just the circumstances that presented themselves? Do you think that you handled that departure the best that you could have?
Yeah, I mean, I got an opportunity to tell my players personally. I think in this day and age of the internet where they read it somewhere else and you have to text message them, that was always important to me that I wanted to make sure I talked to my players and explained the reasons of what I was doing. I wasn't leaving to take a head coaching job somewhere else. I wasn't thinking that the grass is greener at another university. It was just in my personal situation. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to take an opportunity to go be a position coach and coordinator, and that's how it fit. What I was happy is that I always thought Deshaun Foster, I think the world of him, and I think he's special. And the fact that they gave him the opportunity to take over there was, it worked out. I didn't have any say in that decision. I was gone. But I always thought that Deshaun would be a great head coach, and I'm really proud of him and happy that he got the opportunity to take that job.
Right behind him, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, Chip, your reputation as innovator. Was part of the appeal of this is that you get to get in the weeds a little bit maybe not mad scientist, maybe too strong of a word because you're working within the system, but was there an appeal of, I get to get my hands dirty here again and innovate and get back to that side of things?
It was, but it was really more important of who I get to work with, and so knowing, I know a lot of guys on the staff besides Ryan also, so, and I know what their mindset is and what their values are and how they do things, and so I wanted to be a part of that, but there's a part of that, yeah.
And how much of a teacher, you get labeled an innovator, but teaching's a part of this. How much is of a teacher are you, and how patient are you?
Yeah, I think we're all teachers. I mean, education is the transportation of knowledge, so it really doesn't matter what the coach knows. It matters what the players understand, so you have to be able to make sure that while you're implementing things is what resonates with them and how does that come back to them. So, a lot of our teaching styles that we've learned is more the Socratic method of there's a lot of questions, and a lot of check for understandings just to kind of find out where the players are coming from because it's what they know. That's ultimately going to win games, not what we know. That we're not playing the games. We're not stepping across those white lines. And your job as a coach is to create an environment where they have an opportunity to be successful and then get out of their way and let them go do it. So I think the teaching aspect is huge, and we continue to research, some of the latest trends in teaching to make sure that we are transporting that knowledge to our players.
Second row left, Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Coach. Just curious, you got 5 scholarship quarterbacks with differing levels of experience
Sure.
and age and everything else. Not to anoint him, but just want to ask specifically about Will Howard. Coming in after starting part of 2 years at Kansas State, he just seems to promote this idea that he's a football player, above all else. Just how impressed are you with his makeup, his experience, what he's bringing to the table walking in here right now?
Yeah, really impressed. You don't have to talk to Will for more than 5 minutes to kind of know where he's coming from. He's really focused. He knows he's got a short window left in his college career and he really wants to capitalize on what that is. There's a maturity to Will. I've had my experience in this thing since the transfer portal opened in college football is some of the best players I've had an opportunity to coach were transfers. Sometimes when you're a true freshman and it's 5 years out, it's like, hey, I got a ton of time. And sometimes when you're a transfer is that I've got 9 months. So there's a sense of urgency, I think, when you're dealing with transfers. And I think Will has exuded that since he's been here. But the other thing that just in the short time that Will's been here is how quickly he's fit in with the entire team, and how much the rest of the players respect him. He was one of the Gold Award winners for his work in the weight room in this offseason. So that says a lot for him coming in here as in a short time, being able to win a weight room award, to start off.
Do you guys hope to have a number one internally, externally at the end of spring, or I guess just let it play out? How do you?
I think it always, every time I've been involved in these, I think when they're organic is when it's the best. I don't think you can anoint somebody or force the issue because the players know. The players would understand. They see it every single day. And there's a team chemistry part of this thing too. So we're not going to force the issue. But I've always seen it play itself out. So I've been fortunate that there's always going to be some quarterback battles. At some point in time at every school, there's a quarterback battle. And really you got to let them play it out on the field, and that's where it has to. That's where it has to be decided.
Folks, got time for just a couple more. Far left, Whitney Harding, WCMH.
Hey, Coach, welcome, and we're excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
Kind of to talk about the innovative part. Ryan said that that's something that he's always loved about working with you, and now he wants you to bring that here and how it would fit with Ohio State. Do you have any idea what that's going to look like yet, or is it just way too early?
I have no idea. I think part of it is you're trying to put the players in position to make plays. So a lot of that comes from getting to understand the players and what their skill sets are and how we feature what their skill sets are. And the one thing after day one, I can tell you that there's a lot of skill set out there. So that's what gets you excited. That's what you jump out of bed in the morning and you're excited to go to work because of the talent that you get to work with. But the one thing that's the most impressive is the work ethic that goes along with that talent. It's not just empty talent. It's you got some kids who want to. All of them since I've been here want to work. So that's what gets you excited. But I think assessing what the skill set is, that we have available to us on the offensive side of the ball, is vitally important. And then our job is to put those guys in positions to make plays.
You've been in places before where there's been lots of pressure. You've experienced what it's like to coach national championship caliber teams. this program right now is moving into a situation where you got to win quick and now. So does that feel like pressure here for you, or is it a little bit of excitement, or both?
Well, I've always subscribed to is pressure is what you feel when you don't know what you're doing. So if you don't want to feel pressure, then you should know what you're doing. So, I think it's part of that. And I think part of our job with our players in terms of the education process is getting them to understand that too, is that, it's about your preparation. It's about you and your development. It's not about that you can't be governed by what other people say. It's what's my mindset and how am I intrinsically motivated and how do I really compete against myself on a daily basis to get a little bit better. We got a little bit better today because we got out on the field today and got a chance to do some football. And then the challenge is when we get back on the field on Thursday, can we be a little bit better than we were on Tuesday? And if we're doing that, then we keep stacking good days on top of good days, and I think we'll be in a good spot.
Front row, Dave Biddle, 167 Sports.
Hi, Chip, and welcome.
Thank you.
I want to ask about the pros and cons of coaching from the box and coaching from the field. It's interesting. You talked to some offensive coordinators. I remember Tom Herman talking about it. He swore he wanted to coach from the box, saw the game so much better, sterile environment, not all the chaos on the field. Some coaches you talk to, they're like, I want to be on the field so I can look at my guys in the eye. Where are you at as a coordinator?
Honestly, and I've thought of this a lot. I thought of it a lot during COVID because we had the empty stands. So I had thought about just walking up into the stands for a little bit because I had a better vantage. I've always believed you can see the game better from up above, but I believe you can feel the game better from the field. So if there was any way we could get a zip wire where you could do both, coach call it from there and then zip down to the field, get a chance to talk to them. Because it's a different deal when you're talking to the quarterbacks on a phone, than being able to look in their eye and kind of see where they are with it. And part of it is the feel part of it. I remember when I coached Ryan once, we were playing UConn, and he got hit hard going out of bounds. And he just walked by me, and I was the play caller, and he was like, run the next play. And I just kind of looked at him. I saw the look in his eyes because I don't think he could have thrown it. He was still trying to get his wind back. But you wouldn't know that if you're up in the booth, and you call a pass play from up in the booth, and you're like, how come he can't complete that? Well, he just took a shot going out of bounds. So it's that fine line, and I don't have an answer. I think it's feel on the ground, and it's see from up above. Maybe in this day of technology, they'll figure it out. But we'll see how that operates. And whatever Ryan feels is the best for the team is what we're going to do. So.
Front row right, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Chip, your teams at Oregon were obviously known for playing at this fast pace and running a bunch of plays per minute, and maybe not quite as fast as UCLA, but still pretty fast. What role do you see tempo and having an offense in this day in college football, and how has it maybe changed?
I think the game is always evolving. I think when I left in 2012 to go to the National Football League, Oregon was the only team that was playing really, really fast and had shiny helmets. And when I came back in 2017, everybody had shiny helmets and everybody was playing fast. So I think the game is always going to go up and down, and there's going to be different cycles that it goes through. I think tempo is part of an offense, but I don't think it's an offense in itself. I think it's more of like if you go to dinner, it's a side order. It's not the main course, but it's always good to have it. So I think there's times when you'll use it, but you're not going to use it extensively the entire game. Just like you're not going to throw the ball every single snap in a game. You're not going to run the ball every single snap in a game. There's not a game of absolutes anymore. I think the ability to be diverse and have it as a tool in your toolbox, so to speak, is really how we would look at using it here.
Is that because defenses are now more familiar with it than?
I think so. I think when you first started going tempo, there were people in the NCAA that wanted to outlaw it. They wanted to make an NCAA rule that you couldn't do it. And I'll give Coach Saban credit. I mean, I think obviously Nick was the first one to do it. He wanted it outlawed, and then all of a sudden he adapted it and said, "All right, we like this," So we'll keep it in. But I think people have. It doesn't matter what you do. There's cycles to this game, and then once people catch on to that cycle, then it moves. It's no different than 4-3 defenses and 3-4 defenses. What is the rage when the Giants won the Super Bowl? They were a 3-4 defense, and everybody says we have to do that. What people didn't understand is they had Carl Banks and Lawrence Taylor. It didn't matter what defense they were running. I know Jim's back there, and Jim played against them. They could have been a 4-down defense, and those guys would have been great players. But it's not the scheme. I think the coaches that do it the best way is they insert their players and put them in the best position to make plays. And now will tempo be part of it? It'll be part of it, but it's certainly not going to be the main course.
And folks, I'm sorry, last question, Tim May Show, Letterman Row.
Oh, thank you very much, Jerry. Number one, there was a great moment there when y'all were warming up, when you were talking with Tim Walton and Caleb Downs comes up and y'all are conversing. And this is kind of a two-part question, but number one, what was just your take on the talent you saw on that field today?
Yeah.
On both sides of the ball, where would you rank it? You know where I'm going.
Yeah, I'll rank it. I'll be very transparent. As I was telling Tim and Caleb what a great offensive player I thought Caleb would be, could be, and should be, but I'm not the head coach. So I always, during stretch, as an offensive coordinator, I'm always looking at the defensive players like I could use him. Oh, what could I do if I had him? What could I do if I have him? But I don't get to choose him anymore because I don't have the pick. But I was just talking to him about it. He's a great young man. And if you want to watch a highlight tape, watch his highlight tape of him on offense when he was in high school. He's an impressive dude. So.
With just the talent on hand there as you on this field today, but obviously y'all weren't practicing real football yet, but
Yeah.
pretty close.
No, there's obviously this is a very talented football team, but I think Ryan made a point to the team, and I think our players really understand it's the non-talented things that are going to help this team win. It's the discipline development that we're going to have. It's the skill development that we're going to have here during spring ball that's going to be the difference maker. Because there are a lot of talented teams out there.
What did Brian tell you when y'all you came up with the final deal here that you're going to come here as offensive coordinator? What did he tell you he wants out of you? Meaning, what does he expect you to bring to the table, so to speak, or what does he want better than last year?
Yeah, I don't. We didn't really talk about the past, and I've never been one to talk about the past. It was just, what's the future and what would it look like, and what are the pluses of this place, and I understand. Why Ohio State has been the tops in the country in recruiting, because the head coach is a really good recruiter. So those conversations with the head coach from a recruiting standpoint, I can tell what a good recruiter he is, but he also has an amazing place to sell. I think this is, in the short time I've been here, the fan base is amazing. The people that work in this building are amazing. And I think the support that this football team has is amazing. So, just highlighting those couple of things to me were, it just seemed to fit for the timing in my life of where I wanted to be and what we wanted to do, and it worked out. So today was a good day.
Coach, thank you.